Hey everybody, it's Kevin Perkins here from Social Nostra. I'm joined by Chuck Sway. Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, it's going well. Thanks for having me on.
Happy Friday.
We are having some adult refreshments.
It is 5 o'clock somewhere, and Friday, probably somewhere. So, cheers to us here.
Cheers. You know, the good thing too is I didn't even get carded, so there's the mystery right now. Am I overage? Maybe.
Apparently I'm a gentleman tonight, so, anyways. Guys, I'm here as always to kind of bring to you real people who are really interesting, and Chuck is no exception to that. So Chuck, tell us a little bit about your background. I want to kind of like say this for everybody, but I came across you guys' this show, the Deep Shot podcast, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail later. I swear to God, I was laughing my ass off. And you guys are doing some really fun stuff. So before we get into that, man, just tell people a little bit about who you are, your background, where you're at, and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm a content creator by trade, both professionally in my actual day job for a small manufacturing company, but also in this realm of hobby, which is the end goal is to move on and make this, a legitimate income stream and just a legitimate fun time, which it has been up to this point. Now it's just, okay, can we make dollars out of the cents? So I started podcasting almost 4 years ago with the Deep Shot, coincidentally enough, and just kind of built on that. That one started in a reserved study room on one of the local colleges we would go to. We would just have our iPhones and the earbuds and just record, 4 separate tracks that I would just throw into. Yep.
Yeah, nice.
And then just throw together and be like, okay, it looks like these tracks line up where it should be. Let's export it. And then there's the show. And over time, I've just built on the execution of it. As you can see, if you're watching, we have this professional studio, a professional in-home studio. And just building upon that. And I knew that that's kind of what I wanted to do from an early age. I think I was about 10 years old when I got my first camcorder with the high 8 tapes.
Nice.
And
Super 8. No, Super 8. That's the film.
No, yeah, that's a little. I'm not that old.
Yeah, that's more like the boomer. You're the zoomer. I'm the boomer.
Exactly.
Anyway.
So yeah, starting with that and making videos that up until I think last year when I was able to digitally convert them, they just stayed on those tapes, and then moving on like through high school and taking video classes and then going to community college for video and then kind of pivoting and going and getting my bachelor's degree in strategic communications at the University of Washington. And when I was there, that's where the Chuck Sway name was kind of born. It was originally my gamer tag on Xbox after Grand Theft Auto 5 released their online feature. And it's like, well, you got to name your guy now. And I'm like, Chuck Sway. It just came to me.
Yeah, that's funny.
And I just ran with it. And then getting into the last 2 years of my undergraduate, it was like, okay, we're learning about branding and marketing and all of those things. So I'm like, okay, let me take this personal brand and run with it. And I gravitated towards the podcasting. And it started with that, just the audio of the Deep Shot, talking about sports, primarily the NFL and the NBA. And then over time, we've recorded, this is our, I think, 4th setting of when we've done the show. And we've been doing it live now for about 2 years. And that's probably my favorite part about doing that show is just, everything kind of goes, what you say is what you say, and it is on the record forever. So when you say something stupid, it sticks. And the personality that I have, if it is stupid, I lean into it and double down and like, okay, let's share this again.
Oh yeah, and that's for the fans out there who haven't quite yet seen it. We'll interlace some rad clips into this show today of the Chuck Sway personality and the Deep Shot podcast. But I'm telling you, man, I was laughing because of that very reason. So you guys are up in Seattle, right?
North of Seattle, yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny because like there's a bunch of podcasts that are coming out of that general area right now. It's almost like the grunge movement, it's its own thing. Seems like
the podcast renaissance up here. Yeah, and I mean, COVID put a big damper on my ability to physically connect and network with, the cohort of podcasters that's up here, because you can't meet up with anyone right now. So this
Are
is
you guys like totally locked down? Can you even go out to bars or restaurants, or is it that whole like you walk in with the mask, but you can take it off when you eat, and then like?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's the same here as it is most everywhere, where it's like, yeah, you got to wear a mask. Like at work, we're supposed to wear a mask, but we don't have customers on a day to day, so we're just kind of like, oh, you're getting close. Okay, hold on one sec. Let me cover up here, and it's like, okay, like we're good. But just the whole recreational, like going out and doing things, like the big thing that I miss, that I was doing, was playing just pickup basketball, and I can't do that now.
Yeah.
So it's more like that recreational realm where I'm more respecting the other people, of just like, what, let's try to not spread it if we have it or not, whatever. So now I've transitioned into, oh yeah, like we have Zoom and video, and we can just do this remote stuff.
Yeah, with Social Nostra, the same thing. It was like, COVID happened, and I was like, oh man, that kind of sucks. But then again, it doesn't suck, because now everybody's virtual, and there's going to be this massive, need for content and stuff. So it's, there's guys like us that are, out there creating. There's a lot more people creating in general. Most of it's not that good, I have to say, like, I'm not trying to be Mr. Pretentious or anything like that, but it just, I think it fundamentally goes back to like when you were a kid and you had those, those camcorders, and I was the same way. It's like, you want to capture shit and you want to tell a story with it, and a lot of times in a funny way, or some sort of angle that kind of piques people's interest or whatever. And anyway, it's really cool that you're, that you got started in doing your stuff. I was going to say on the podcast, you're a Bills fan, but you live in Seattle area.
Yeah, so that's kind of the beauty of podcasting in general, and then breaking it down to the specifics of mine with the deep shot, is you really don't know what is going to happen. And so we started out that show, we're going to cover the NFL kind of writ large, the NBA writ large, but then we have our, Pacific Northwest biases, but then the evolution of where allegiances form as a fan of sports. And so the Bills fandom was basically spawned from their quarterback, Josh Allen. It was his rookie year a few years ago. And we just made this bet, just one off, wasn't scripted or anything. We're like, let's see if the Bills can win 6 games. And if they win 6 games, we're all going to buy Josh Allen jerseys, the T-shirt jerseys.
Right,
and
the jerseys,
yeah. And it evolved from there. And last year it was, if they won 10 or more games, I would drop a few dollars on a signed piece of Josh Allen merch, which you can't see it behind me. I think it's covered and it's just the webcam, but it's a signed helmet. And then this year, if they make it to the AFC Championship game, the game right before the Super Bowl, it is a like game worn or legitimately signed piece of on-field merch. And so it just kind of builds. And so because of that, I was like, okay, like I want to win shit, even though I have to pay for it out of pocket. So go Bills. And then it just morphed into this just obsession.
No, that's totally fine. I'm just saying, like, given that Seattle's probably one of those towns, right, that has a pretty, dedicated fan base. I mean, shoot, Steven Basita that does Get It on our networks from that general area, and he's Mr. Seahawks. He's been taking it on the chin for such a long time, and then they started really kicking ass, and now he's like, So it's kind of fun to see that the way things kind of play out.
Yeah, and I mean, still, like in my back pocket, I can be a Seahawks fan because they are in the backyard, and so I'll root for them. But to kind of, because we're all connected with this Zoom video, like Buffalo is not that far away from Seattle now, relatively speaking, with the internet. So it's like, hey, like I'm a part of Bills Mafia now.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, all these massive teams, like, I mean, it's not football, but like the Yankees or the Red Sox, they're like Yankees Nation or Red Sox Nation. It's like you can be a fan and not even be from that area nowadays, because those are just national brands,
Yep.
And Bills are no exception. The Patriots. I mean, dude, like Patriots fans are here in Orange County. It's like, dude, you're not even, you live in Tustin, okay? It's not New England. But where do you think Tom Brady's at right now with his move?
Well, that's kind of a reason why I leaned into being a Bills fan, because fuck the Patriots and fuck Tom Brady. And you look back at the Super Bowl where the Seahawks played the Patriots, there was that interception on the 1 yard line. Seahawks went on to lose the game. And so Brady from that point on was like, fuck this guy. And then it's like, oh, I have an opportunity to be a fan of the Bills, who are arch rivals to the Patriots. Bring it on. So, I mean, he's an amazing player. I'm not going to doubt his abilities as a football player, but him as a person, he can fuck right off. There is an image from some game multiple years ago where someone had a sign in the stands and it said, Tom Brady sits when he pees. And I just latched on to that. I actually wrote a blog article when I had the Chuck Sway website up, which because of this rebranding, it is now down and getting a facelift. But it was basically a bash piece of like, fuck Tom Brady, but also like the NFL wouldn't be what it is today without him. And it's not going to be the same when he's gone.
True. Yeah, but then somebody else will come up and, be the next whatever, right?
Exactly.
It's Brady or Kobe or, you can go back in time with all the different players and the different sports and Gretzky, there's always somebody that comes through and replaces depending on, what the fans essentially require. There is more tinkering, not to get into the sports discussion, but it's interesting to see how the leagues and how the consortiums try to manipulate to get certain markets, their due, right? It's like, you see this a lot in baseball, not so much in football. Football has gotten to me a little bit more like, kind of, I wouldn't say even playing field, but it's pretty predictable, right? It's more just generically, here are the great teams, here are the B teams, maybe one or two, shitty teams, right?
Right, exactly.
With baseball, it's like, here are the top five and everybody else can go fuck off, right? Hockey, kind of the same way. There's, small number of top teams, So anyway, it's just interesting when you start to see these other markets that perennially are never in like the finals. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, your ratings are going to tank anyway.
Yeah, it's moving pieces around, and yeah, I mean that's a good point. I'm not a big baseball follower because I am a Mariners fan, so I don't have much reason to be a follower of baseball because they historically just suck. They're just dog shit. But yeah, it's fun, and I'm always for a good upset. As a fan of sports in general, if I don't have any allegiances to a given team, it's like, just give me a good show.
Yeah, right.
Entertain me.
Yeah, and that's what you guys do. And so here's a good time for segue. So tell us a little bit about your co-hosts and stuff. You guys have a great chemistry. You sit across the table from somebody, and then you also have another gentleman in the booth. Tell us who they are and what they do, and kind of like give some more color to the deep shot.
Yeah, so kind of a long-winded response to that. So my co-host is Jeff, and then my producer is Bonzo, and he actually sits right where I am right now as we run the live show. And so I met both of those chums working at Nike, and this was 4 years ago, and we just kind of bonded over how shitty it was to work at Nike. And so even we've all since left that retail spot, and Bonzo went on to serve in the Navy. He is now out. And so when he was getting out, I was like, hey, like, let's get into the content game and let's double down for me. And then for him, he was, when he wasn't away at sea, he was doing the Twitch streams and established a good audience. And so it's like, okay, now that, I'm out of school and graduated and you're out of the Navy, let's start making content, and let's start making content to the best of our abilities. So yeah, and it's a lot of fun with these guys when we do the show. Usually how it goes is I'm responsible for half the games, Jeff is responsible for half the games, and then Bonzo monitors the chat and sees if anyone's going to swing by and say something. And it's a lot of fun. The last episode that we did, it got too fun, and Bonzo actually had to mute both of us and just sign us off. It's like, we got to get out of here.
That was hilarious. And then you just started reading all the destinations where you could find you got your podcast out on the interwebs, and I was laughing my ass off. That was hilarious. You guys are like giddy and just kept going, and he didn't give a fuck. He was just like mute. Anyway, you guys is really, really, really good, dude.
Yeah, and that's what we strive for, even though it's like we don't know exactly what we want, but when the show is over and we hit stop on the record and on the stream, it's like, okay, I'm glad how that came together.
Yeah, man, it was so funny because you know, you mentioned Twitch. So you mentioned in a call that we had before this that you're thinking about maybe moving away from that. I was just kind of glancing at some funny ass stuff that you did with you being in first person with an Ewok. You know, and it was so funny, man. I do that shit on the TV all the time, where it's just like, you know, the Bachelorette, and you know, like you basically talk for them when, you know, it's so funny. But you did it as an Ewok, right? And so the Ewok's got the bow, and the bow's in the middle. Oh man, it was so good, dude.
Out in space. Yeah. So going back to like the Twitch stream. So it's tough. I mean, like I mentioned, I have a full-time job. I'm doing these podcasts. I'm doing other projects as well. And so I can't really be a Twitch streamer because the guys that are at the top of the game on that platform right now, they're doing it every single day. And the people that are trying to move up the ranks have the facilities to do it every single day. And I just don't have that time. But when I do go ahead and do it, and it's been a few weeks since I've streamed because I've now moved away from it, and it's like I can spend my time having two people tune in to me playing some video games, or I can reach out to other content creators and just try to, you know, hear what the social Nostra getting on your show and just having a conversation.
It's funny, like, so let's talk about that. So I, you know, was obviously getting a lot of uptick with investing in Instagram and getting a lot of people familiar with our brand, and you know, eventually kind of figured out how to make the podcast fit into the IGTV paradigm, which is challenging. It has to be less than 60 minutes, and it can't be more than 3.6 gigabytes. It's fucking hard to get a real podcast into that environment. But that being said, like, we started to accelerate, and dude, there was no money. There's no money at all in IG, which is so ironic. It's like, oh my God, I'm literally doing 60,000 views on a cast. Nothing. There's zero. Like, I'm spending money to get that sucker seen on their stoop. I'm like, what are we doing, dude? So we recently, you know, kind of took the initiative to shift all that resource away from Facebook and IG. Not that we won't be continuing to brand ourselves there, but just as far as the delivery of our show content, it's all YouTube now.
Yeah, I look at social media and Instagram in particular as just a springboard. You have to go where the people are, and then your goal is to move them out of that platform and onto YouTube or wherever you have your content or the bulk of your content. And so that's what I try to do on my social pages, is just little snackables. If you like it enough to give it a like, great. If you like it enough beyond that to go click the link in the bio or whatever and start listening and listen consistently, like that's the main goal.
Yeah, it's frustrating. You know, I wish sometimes, and I know YouTube started to do, like, you know, content posts and stories, like, you know, all these guys try to be like each other, you know. Yep. Reels became like TikTok, and which was like Snapchat, which was like, you know, it's like, yeah, they all copy each other eventually. It's the name of the software game. But that being said, you know, I'm glad we did this, because as soon as we made that move to YouTube, it's like now there's just a singular place to focus. It's monetized. We're starting to grow. Instead of putting all the energy to grow that, it's now growing into YouTube. And so, you know, do you guys have a game plan for like how you're going to be out there? Is it similar, or are you guys going to be trying to do something, you know, a little bit unique?
It's along those lines, because right now the Deep Shot is broadcast onto Twitch, and because my account is an affiliate account on Twitch, which basically just means that you're allowed to have some shared ad revenue, and then users can subscribe to your channel, which you split 50-50 with Twitch. In that user agreement, you are basically bound to just be a Twitch streamer. So services like Restream.io, where you can stream to multiple different platforms, technically as a Twitch affiliate, you're not allowed to do that. And I pull the stream metrics after every broadcast and see that it's just there's nothing there. Yeah. Even with the promotion to be like, hey, we are live Monday night, right after Monday Night Football, tune in, and it just doesn't really happen. So that's why I'm looking more into YouTube. If I move away from Twitch altogether, I really won't be sweating that breach of an affiliate agreement. So then I'm on YouTube. So yeah, kind of the plan is is to migrate over to YouTube. It also makes things post-production wise a whole lot easier, because instead of recording the show that is live and then going in and editing it, it's already up on YouTube. The only thing I really need to do is do my intro that gives a brief synopsis of the show, and then it's good to go. So that saves time as well, just going over to YouTube.
Right. So you guys are doing kind of more of that live model and capturing it in real time, and then just fixing whatever you need to do at the end.
Yeah, and it's mostly just adjusting some levels if we were peaking or we are a little too low, and then just doing the introduction, because that's kind of the reality of going live is I have a script and I know what we're going to be talking about, but I don't know what's going to stem from that. So then right when the show's over, I stay in my seat that's right behind me, and then I just kind of scroll through the script. It's like, okay, what are the three main things we touched upon? All right, we're ready to go. And then I do, my on this edition of the deep shot, and then go through, and then the show starts.
Yeah, cheers.
Fuck, I'm empty. Hold on.
Oh my gosh.
Quick drinker.
Oh, that Truly.
There we go.
It's all that Truly, just goes right through you.
Yeah, there's a hack for someone who, when I get hungover, I get hungover. Yeah. Truly's, I don't get it, at least. So.
Oh, that's good.
They're going straight from the bottle. Nice.
Oh yeah, it's some grown ass man shit right there. Okay, so real quick on this the podcast, let's talk some particulars. You had mentioned snackables, and I think that's a great strategy. So you're doing a couple things. You're posting stuff to Instagram, and then you're also pushing stuff out as recap stuff on YouTube. So I watched one of the latest recaps, which was pretty funny. You're eating a bowl of sherbet.
Yes.
That's pretty. Tell everybody about that one.
So I have a history when I'm on camera that I can be a whore of sorts for entertainment. And what can I do that is going to be like, I can't believe you put yourself through that. So this was the most recent one. It was a quart and a half of Safeway Select sherbet. And it was to commemorate the matchup of the Bills and the Chargers. The Chargers quarterback is a rookie by the name of Justin Herbert. And my co-host Jeff came out and said, hey, this guy is the better Josh Allen quarterback for the Bills. And I'm like, shut your dirty mouth. That's a lie. And so when he played hot, we call him better Josh Allen because, if he plays better than Josh Allen, you can make that argument. But when he gets cold, he turns into Justin Sherbert. And so I said it, and again, this came up live, like, fuck it, here's a great idea. We'll do the Sherbet Bowl. I will eat an entire bowl of sherbet the week after the Chargers and the Bills play.
And they totally sucked it, so you were eating the full fucking bowl during the cast, like, oh.
Quart and a half, brain freeze and all.
Dude, the brain freeze was hilarious. Like, all of a sudden, you're talking to your co-host and stuff, and you're just like, gah, gah. And you're like, what happened just now? And you're like, oh my gosh, that. And there's nothing worse than like a sherbet one, because that's like half ice to begin with, right? Dude, so like, he must have had the most gnarliest freaking headache ever.
I was gonna say, in doing that post-production, I did the math on the calories, and it was disgusting. I don't even want to repeat it. I thankfully can't remember what the calories and the fat and the saturated fat, all that. But it was rough. And after the show, I'm trying to put together the show, and I just have the sugar crash, and it's like 12:30, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go to bed. Like,
not to mention FDA red 12 and yellow 55, ingredients 16 in there too.
It wasn't wholesome organic sherbet by any means.
Not even freaking close. Oh my gosh. Okay, the next thing I saw, oh my god, this made me laugh. You guys do these bloopers. It's almost like the bad lip reading for football, but it's better. You guys find all the bloopers. The thing that just made me laugh is this dude was doing this pancake on this guy on the ground after he tackled him. Where did you find that clip? And did you get any blowback from anybody after you ran it?
So the prep, little trade secret to how we do things for the show. The prep is basically whatever is found on social media during the week. I DM it to the show's Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and then that gets put in. So those bloopers and those segments that don't have enough for an entire individual segment, like a recap of an NFL game, they get put in the brick section. And so that one in particular, where the lineman pancaked his block and started humping like it was a Halo lobby, like I said in the show. Blowback, I got none of it. And if I did, I would take it as, hey, all press is good press. I'm glad you're talking about it.
But that guy was like, he was humping the guy. It was like
violent. Something that you're not supposed to do in a football game.
Guy, okay, whatever. But it was football dudes doing it. And it was like, it was ridiculous. You guys nailed it, though. It's really funny, man. Okay, what's up with this real doll marriage with that bodybuilder guy?
So this one was a bit of a stretch, and this is actually what concluded in both myself and Jeff getting muted and the show just ending. This guy is a Kazakhstani bodybuilder, and that was the only thing I had to tie it back to sports to validate him getting on the show. This guy, and you can look him up, married his sex doll. Like, there are images of a marriage ceremony. He has a ton of images. And yeah, so I threw it on there, and I just struck a chord with Jeff, and he was just so disturbed that he's like, let's move on. And I'm like, no, we're gonna stay on it.
I mean, I remember when those real dolls kind of first came out, and Howard Stern was talking about them all the time on his radio show, and they would they would punk each other and do funny bits with it and stuff. I swear to God, I had to do a double take, just quick look, like, wait, that's a doll? Like, it was so real. I could, I'm like, dude, maybe that dude is a little screwed up in the head, a little loose. Maybe his lifting and he bopped a blood vessel or something in his brain. But how mental do you have to be like, okay, we're going to get married? And like, it wasn't even just a gag or something where, he like fucking dressed her up in a wedding dress. And he himself got like into the penguin suit and the ties. Yep. And I was like, dude, are you crazy right now? Like,
yeah, that clip actually came across my radar, I don't know, 2-3 hours before the show. And I'm like, okay, we're going to run with this one.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Well, so on that note, instead of me saying, hey, this is so funny, you guys should check them out. So Chuck, give everybody kind of your elevator on where people can go, what they can expect to see, and so forth.
If you search Chuck's Way or the Deep Shot podcast, the SEO is there that I will come up.
Well, Chuck, man, it's really good to see you, and thanks for coming on. I want you to come on again, man. We have probably so much to talk about, and I want to encourage all the viewers today to go check out the Deep Shot. Very entertaining, very funny stuff. Again, these aren't just random randos talking about some political movement or whatever, and gee, we're so great. We're going to virtue signal. These guys are actually having a lot of fun and doing it well. So
yeah, a little gritty too. So yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Yep. Keep up the good work. All right, bud. Take it easy. Oh, we got to cheers one more time. Cheers. Hey, good luck on the show, man. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
A galaxy far, far away with blasters, but homeboy just has a bow and arrow and some special abilities. Let's just spend them all right now. Sack of potatoes thrown at the opposition to no avail. Gonna charge the bow up again, and no, there's fucking nothing.